Welcome to the 20-minute version of the Bird of Paradise class, which the full class leads to the peak pose Bird of Paradise. The short version, we're actually going to skip the peak pose. It's a very deep, stretchy pose, so on the longer version, we really take it step by step to get there. But we're going to do everything in the short version to still open the same parts of the body. Backs of the legs, hips, shoulders. So get ready to open, feel very open and move your body. We're going to get started facing up on our backs in Happy Baby. And feel free to take some time to settle in your breath and your mat in this space and time. Doing the version of Happy Baby that feels best for you. Maybe that's grabbing the edges of the feet, the toes, or maybe even behind the knees. Whatever feels best, just for a couple more breaths. And slowly, whenever you're ready, you're going to let go of the left foot, keeping the right foot or leg, whatever you had, in Happy Baby. So coming into like a half Happy Baby. And now we're going to bring the leg, the right thigh, close into the torso, almost as if you want to place the knee inside of the right armpit. And pulling the foot in, opening that right hip, making sure the left hip is still on the mat. Making sure the low back is on the mat. We're completely flat onto the mat. And maybe if it feels right, you lengthen the left leg forward. If not, stay where you are. And maybe pulsing the foot, kind of sensing where your hip is today. And maybe lengthening that right leg, keeping the leg close into the torso. It's open, but it's close towards the side of the torso. Again, the low back is still on the mat. The left hip is pressing against the mat, against the floor. And releasing the right foot, placing the right foot onto the mat, bringing the left foot into half Happy Baby. Same thing on this side, making sure the left thigh is close to the left side of the torso as the knee comes inside of the left armpit, or close to the left armpit. And pulling the foot in, making sure the right hip creases down, the low back is pressing so we're not rounding our back. And lengthen the right leg if you did so on the other side. Taking a second or two to settle here, and whenever you're ready, lengthen the left leg. Being soft. We're going to do deep hamstring openers, IT openers. So take it at your own pace. We don't want to hurt ourselves to get any further. And slowly release, bringing both knees into the chest, hugging the knees in, swaying from side to side and massaging the low back. Now we're going to begin to rock back and forth, getting a little bit of momentum. We're going to try to come directly into a forward fold. It's okay if we don't reach the forward fold directly. We'll assist ourselves with our hands. Coming onto our feet, folding over our legs, bringing our feet wider than hip width, bending our knees as needed, grabbing opposite elbows, hanging heavy in ragdoll. Releasing the head, the side of the neck, making sure we're not tensing the shoulders. Staying here for a couple more breaths. Letting go of the elbows, bringing your hands behind your back, Inhale, lengthen through the spine, lift halfway, lengthen the legs. On the exhale, fold forward, bringing the shoulders overhead. And hanging heavy, maybe bending the knees, resting the torso on the thighs if it feels right. If not, you can begin to lengthen the legs, opening the backs of the legs. And releasing your hands, placing the hands next to the feet. Bringing your feet hip width apart. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, forward fold. Coming all the way up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, hinge forward, reaching for the mat with both hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, plant the hands next to the feet and step the left foot back. Usually it's a little more further back than you'd think. Keeping the right knee over the right ankle. Placing the back knee down, the back of the foot, lengthening the right leg, half splits. Making sure the right hip is pulling back, keeping the hips squared, and the spine lengthens, the sides of the torso lengthen. Bending the right leg once again, bringing the knee over the ankle. Inhale, lift up, lengthen the arms up towards the ceiling. Lifting the left hip so it's at the same height as the right. Tailbone lengthens down towards the heel so we're not overarching the low back. And interlace your hands behind your back, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the heart. There's still no back bend in the low back. It's the chest that lifts, the shoulder that opens, and maybe we look up slightly. Inhale. And release the hands, placing both hands next to the right foot, placing the back toes onto the mat, lifting the back knee. Step it back, plank pose. Taking your option of your vinyasa, maybe knees down, chest, chin, or through plank, chaturanga, up dog, downward facing dog. Placing the knees onto the mat, coming into a tabletop position. We're going to do a dynamic exercise to work on the side of the glute and the glute. So the side of the hip and the glute. We're going to inhale, lifting the leg out to the side, keeping the knee bent, bringing the knee to hip height. On the exhale, lower. On the next inhale, kick back, pushing through the heel up towards the ceiling. On the exhale, lower. Continue at your own pace, 5 more. Low ribs are tying in. And left hip is stable, so we're not popping the left hip to open. Sorry, out to the side. Last 2. Kicking back, pushing through the heel, lowering the leg down. One more time, we're going to just do the first part of the exercise. Opening the hip, lifting the knee to hip height. We're going to lengthen the leg as much as we can, dropping the foot down, lifting the torso up into a gate pose. We're going to walk the right hand along the right leg. Imagine you are between 2 planes so the chest can't close or open too much. The hand is facing down, lengthening the left side of the body and coming back through center, planting both hands in front of you, tabletop position, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up, opening the hip, bending the knee, taking the left heel towards the left glute, and closing it off, bringing the left knee into the nose, and lengthen back. Taking the knee towards the right elbow, lifting, pushing the floor away from you, and lengthen back. Last one, knee to same elbow. Left knee towards the left elbow, opening the hip, lifting the leg, placing the foot outside of the left hand. Lowering the back knee, the back of the foot, Lifting the left arm up towards the ceiling. Opening the chest up. The left knee is going to open out to the side and the foot is going to lift. And we're going to use the left hand to push the left thigh away from us, opening, maybe looking behind us. And coming back through center, planting the foot back onto the mat, knee closing, placing the left hand inside of the left foot, and if it's available, lowering onto our forearms. Keeping that left thigh close into the torso, so the foot is planted down. Letting the hips drop, feeling that opening in the frontal right hip. And placing your hands back down onto the mat. Keeping the foot where it is, you're gonna lengthen the left leg, lengthening the torso forward. And if you're very open in the backs of the legs, you can maybe walk your hands more forward, reaching the crown of the head long. If not, find length, maybe coming onto the tips of your fingers. Left hip crease, reaching back, keeping the hips squared, maybe flexing the left foot. One more breath. And bending the left leg, placing the hands back onto the mat, wiggling your foot between your hands. Placing the back toes onto the mat, lifting the back knee, you're gonna step the right foot to meet the left. Forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, forward fold and come all the way up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. Other side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, plant the hands next to the feet. Step the right foot back this time. Lowering the back knee, the back of the foot. Half splits, lengthening the left leg. Maybe walking the hands in a little closer, coming into the tips of the fingers to really find length through the spine. And then you can play around and folding a little deeper, making sure that you keep the length. And bending the left leg, lifting the torso, lifting the arms, low lunge. Finding length through the crown of the head and interlacing your fingers behind your back. Opening the chest, rolling the shoulders back. Tailbone pulls down towards the heel, lengthening the low back. Take a deep breath in. And releasing the hands, placing both hands back onto the mat. Placing the back foot down, lifting the back knee, step it back, plank pose. Going through your version of your vinyasa. We all meet in down dog. And now placing your knees back on the mat, coming through tabletop position. On the left side, opening the hip, bending the knee, bringing the knee towards the left hip, or the height of the left hip. And continue by kicking back. Follow the rhythm of your breath as you move between these two exercises. Continue 4 more. Keeping the right hip squeezing into the midline so it's not popping out to the side. Last one. And we're all gonna meet in tabletop. Coming back through a half of the exercise, opening the hip like a fire hydrant. And lengthening the leg, placing the foot onto the mat, lifting the torso. Making sure the foot is in the same line as the knee, the hips are pushing forward, walking the left hand along the left leg, reaching the right arm forward. Coming back through center, planting both hands in front of you, coming through tabletop position and downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg up towards the ceiling. Opening the hip, bending the knee. Making sure both sides of the torso are facing down. Right heel pulls toward the right glute. And slowly closing it off. Bring the right knee into the nose. Pushing the floor away from you, rounding the upper back and lengthen. Right knee towards the left elbow. Pushing the floor away from you, making sure you're not dropping the leg or the hips, and lengthen back. Last one. Right knee towards your right elbow as you open the hip and place the foot outside of the right leg, placing the back knee down, the back of the foot, lifting the right arm up. Opening that hip so the foot might come off of the mat as you make sure the right knee is in the same direction as the foot, and using the right hand to push away, looking behind you. If this is too much, you can just play around with looking over the shoulder, maybe just looking in the same line as the neck, as where the neck is facing. And coming back through center, placing the whole foot back onto the mat, the hand inside of the foot, lowering onto your forearms. And lizard, making sure that right thigh is close to the torso. And the whole foot is planted onto the ground. Placing your hands back onto the mat, keeping the foot where it is, lengthen the right leg as you lengthen the torso, reaching the heart forward and down to this funky half split. And bending the front leg once again, coming forward, wiggling the foot between both hands, placing the back foot down, lifting the back of the knee, step the left foot to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, coming forward. Inhale, lift all the way up to standing, hands in front of the heart. One Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, planting the hands next to the feet. Step back into plank or hop into chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. 3 full rounds of breath. Reaching the sits bones up. And bend the knees, look forward, step or hop towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Coming all the way up to standing, hands in front of the heart. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, fold forward. We're going to open our feet, so we're going to separate our feet around mat width or a little wider than hip width apart. Bending the knees, lowering our hips, coming into Malasana Yogi Squat. It's okay if your heels don't come down completely. Either place a blanket under the heels or come onto your tiptoes. Hands in front of the heart. Opening the chest, rolling the shoulders back, pushing the knees out with the elbows to open the hips. Slowly, with control, we're going to come onto the sits bones, lifting the legs, coming into Navasana. Again, you can play around to see what feels best for you, always making sure that you're lengthening the low back, arms long along the legs or behind the knees. 3 more breaths. And slowly place the feet down, placing them a little wider than hip width. In a dynamic way, we're going to come through deer pose. So taking the knees towards the right side, making sure you have like 2 90-degree angles with the knees, and the other side. Just like that, we're going to take a couple more moments to bring movement into the hip joint. Always lengthening and lifting the heart. Shoulders rolling back. Last one, we're gonna let the knees drop towards the right. And now we're either gonna stay here or we're gonna try to take the right ankle over the left thigh. We're only gonna do this if the knee doesn't come up and we feel really tight as if we're crunching up. If the knee drops, we'll stay here. If not, you can just stay where you were. And maybe lowering onto the forearms or completely onto our backs. Whatever feels best here. Just for a couple breaths. Really feeling the opening in the front of the left hip. And slowly lifting back up, coming through center, placing the right hand behind you. We're gonna lift, taking the left arm overhead, pushing the hips forward, opening the heart. And coming back through center, placing the hips back onto the mat, taking the knees towards the left side. Same thing, if you tried taking the foot over the other side, maybe you try on this side. So left foot comes over the right thigh, maybe lowering onto our forearms or completely onto our backs. Taking that inhale to create space wherever in your body it feels tight or maybe tension from the opening. And slowly pushing ourselves back up through center. This time placing the left hand behind us. We're going to reach your right arm forward and back, opening the chest, pushing the hips forward. Inhale and lower. Placing both feet back onto the mat. Crossing our feet, placing the hands in front of us. We're going to step back, plank pose. Going through your vinyasa, or we'll meet in down dog. From down dog, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, forward fold, come all the way up to standing, hands in front of the heart. We're going to shift into tree pose, Vrksasana pose. We're going to do it step by step, even though this might feel like a pose that it's quite in our practice. We're going to try to do it step by step, being very aware of where our hips are in space. So we're going to begin taking the left foot up inside of the right leg. Hands in our hips, feeling where our hips are in space. If they begin to shift back, then stay there. Bring them back to center and keep lifting the foot. If you feel like you can't balance the hips out, then stay where you are. And from where you are, keeping the hips squared, maybe open the left knee out to the side. Hold there. The foot pushes against the inner thigh and the inner thigh against the foot, creating stability. Arms reach up. And lowering our hands down, grabbing the left knee, opening the hip, whoop, opening the hip to the side. And releasing the leg without placing it on the mat. We're going to shift it back into warrior two. Opening the hips, opening the arms along the legs. Inhale and windmill your hands down. Step it back, plank pose, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. From down dog, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, fold. Coming all the way up to standing, hands in front of the heart. Other side. Shifting the weight towards the left foot. Walking the right foot inside of the left leg. Bringing awareness to our hips. Closing the knee a little so we make sure the hips are both facing forward. We will then work on opening that right leg. Maybe assisting the lift with our hand. And from here, begin opening that right hip, making sure both hip bones are facing forward. Arms lift. The leg pushes against the foot against the leg. And slowly grabbing the right ankle, or the right knee with the right hand, opening the right hip. Slowly, we're going to transition into Warrior Two, lengthening the right leg back with control, opening the arms along the legs, settling in our Warrior Two. Just briefly, inhale, and windmill your hands down. Step it back, plank pose, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in and release everything through the mouth. Placing your knees onto the mat, coming into a seated position facing forward. This time, feet hip width apart, knees bent, the heels don't need to come in too close. Find length through the spine. And we're going to place the right ankle over the left thigh, coming into a seated figure four. The further the foot is out, the more space you'll have to really open the hip. And then maybe you can begin to play with bringing the foot in, lengthening the spine, bringing the hands closer. Always with the length through the low back. Take a deep breath in. And release, keeping the right leg where it is. We're just going to place the side of the left leg onto the mat. Aligning the knees, bringing the right knee over the left. If this is too much and our knees are splurging out, you can lengthen the bottom leg. From here, fold forward, releasing any tension. Little to no effort through the sides of the neck, the head. Just release everything here. And lifting back up, planting the right foot outside of the left thigh. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, twist over towards the right, grabbing the left, either hugging the left knee in or placing the elbow outside of the right thigh. Looking behind you if it's available. Again, on the inhale, lengthen through the spine. On the exhale, try to twist a little deeper. And release everything back through center. Unraveling the legs, placing both feet back in center, knees bent. Other side. Taking the left ankle over the right thigh this time. Making a figure four. Make sure that you're opening that left hip. Maybe walking the hands in, bringing the foot a little closer. Shoulders rolling back. Heart lifts. And releasing, placing the side of the right leg down onto the mat, aligning the knees for Gomukhasana legs. Both sits bones are grounded, heels trying to come in close towards the sides of the hips. And fold over, releasing everything onto the mat or over onto your legs. And even if you're high, even if you can't completely fold over, just kind of let your torso be, releasing any tension in the head and the neck, any effort. Just let your body do what it wants to do. And slowly coming back up, placing the left foot outside of the right thigh. Inhale, arms up. On the exhale, twist over towards the right, Sorry, other side. That took a second. Over towards the left as you hug the left leg in, looking over the left shoulder, lengthening through the spine. Maybe hooking the elbow outside of the left leg, twisting a little deeper. Finding length through the crown of the head. And release everything back through center, unraveling your legs, coming into a cross-legged position. I hope you enjoyed. If you had fun and you wanted to get a little deeper, check out the YouTube channel for the full class. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.